Welcome. Right, I believe I'm live. Okay, I'm just going to give everyone a minute to jump on the live stream. So excited to be here. Okay. Just going to check to make sure everything is working. Okay. Blessings. Oh, hi. Hi, sister. Blessings. Okay, wonderful. So, I am just so excited to be here with y'all today. And I have a lot of codes and medicine and different downloads to share with you. So, this is going to be a proper masterclass. I have a lot of notes, downloads that came through that God wants me to share with you today. So we're just going to take another minute to allow sisters to jump on. And if you're here, let me know that you're here. Hi, sisters. Aw, so exciting. We're all gathering together. I'm just taking a moment to be present with the collective feminine body and just allowing everybody who is meant to be a part of the live to jump on. And of course, I know that there's going to be many of you that are watching this on replay. So, hi, welcome in. I'll just give everybody a moment. If you are here live, let me know that you're here. I really love holding live experiences like this to really weave an interactive experience. And so, that's my intention for today as well. Whenever I offer a live experience, a free live experience, of course, it's to serve God's purposes and to allow what God wants to be shared through my personal channel and assignment intelligence with God to come through, and also to have like a truly interactive experience where we get to gather together and share space and really connect into the heart of the feminine Christ body, the Sophianic body. So I'm really excited to begin today. Okay, beautiful. Hi, 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 hi. Yay. Absolutely. Yeah, you can totally catch the replay. I have some notes on that. So, okay, I am going to get into the flow and we're going to get started. Yay. Okay. So, first of all, welcome to the Mission Alignment Masterclass. I'm really excited to be here and to share these exciting new updates with you and offerings that are arriving for us right now. This is a really big moment. And as a side note, God brought this download through for me to hold this free live offering because God was informing me about how many of us right now, there's a lot of us that are getting new assignments, new positions within the new earth and the different grid systems. And our mantles are expanding, our missions are elevating, we're getting upgrades. This is a really exciting time. And I had no idea that today was a solar eclipse until a couple days ago. I knew it was eclipse season. I don't follow all of that too closely. And so, yes, we're gathering here during the solar eclipse. And when I consulted God on that, I was like, what is the intention around this? And it's like really to anchor in the organic frequency of Christ Sophia, the organic living source code, because eclipses are intense times. And if you're anything like me and you're empathic and you can feel the collective, you know that there's been a very intense purge happening over the last couple of weeks for a majority of the collective. And so if you've been processing that, I just want to say I'm with you. I get it. And I know what it's like to hold a leadership mantle and a big aspect of the feminine body and also just navigating the collective energies as way showers, as leaders of the new earth. And so today, my intention with this class is really to help attune you to the organic living light frequency of the one true living God of Christ Sophia and to support you in the alignment coming in for your mission and all of the beautiful upgrades. And I am also going to be sharing some really beautiful ways to work with me, some sacred invitations. The sanctuary mission is expanding in Sanctuary of Sophia. And so I have a lot of exciting updates and some things that are going to be really expansive for us as a collective for the feminine way showers. So I know that I have a lot of new beautiful souls that have been coming into my world over these last few months. And so if this is your first live experience with me here on the live or replay, I just want to say hello and welcome you into the Sophionic realm. My name is Alasia Sunstar, and I'm the founder of Sanctuary of Sophia, which is an ancient solar feminine Christ temple that is devoted to serving God's purposes and divine will for humanity. So the temple space, it's an etheric temple, and it is designed to support women like you who are on the path of divine feminine reclamation, coming into leadership, their spiritual gifts, remembering their Sophionic consciousness. And this is for the space to really rise into that embodiment of the oracle, the mystic, the medicine woman, the priestess, the divine feminine leader, the Grail Queen. This is what Sanctuary of Sophia is holding space for, and what we are doing behind the scenes, of course, as well as grid workers and all of the grid work that we do to carry out the new earth prophecy. So we're going to be talking today about fulfilling sacred covenant with God. And this is going to be an energetic transmission where I'm going to be sharing some higher frequencies, keys, codes. So please be sure to stay grounded. Make sure that you have water and whatever you need. I have some purifications with me. I have multiple beverages. I have my sacred cacao that I've been working with this morning. I have water, tea, and I have some purifications. And so, I just want to share, especially if you're new to my work and you haven't experienced me teaching through transmission, it is a cellular remembrance. So just pay attention to like what's happening in your field because I'm here to serve as a Sophionic activator for many women of the Sophionic bloodlines. And so as I share these codes today, you might start to remember things. Things might just start come online. The hummingbird is here. Blessed be. Um, and yeah, I'm going to be teaching through transmission. And so it's just important to stay hydrated, stay grounded, honor your process. As we go through, you might be getting downloads. So if you have a pen and paper, a notebook, I'm just going to invite you to grab that before we get started because this is going to be a full masterclass today. And I also am going to invite you to like ask me questions as we go around. If you have questions about my offers or how I can best support you in the sanctuary, this is the space to do that today. You can also reach out to me afterwards. But as I'm sharing, if you're having questions about it, know that you can drop it in the comments and yeah, we can connect. So this masterclass is also going to be available as a replay here on my Facebook and YouTube. So if you have to hop off, you can catch the rest on replay. Okay. So we're going to get started. Yay, I'm just tuning in to see who's here. Hi. Hi, beautiful sisters. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's just take a moment to drop into the heart and the womb and to arrive in the present moment. So I just want to invite you in this moment, wherever you may be. Perhaps it's evening where you are, perhaps you're just starting your day, maybe it's the middle of the day for you. I just want to invite you to take a moment to start to call all of your energy back, to call in all of your energy back into this present moment, feeling all of your energy and essence arrive across all space and time, and just feeling your heart and your womb, maybe having a hand on your heart, a hand on your womb, and just really honoring who you are as a woman, who said, yes, I'll go to planet Earth during this time. Yes, I will do this sacred work. I just really want you to take a moment to honor yourself. Hmm. Yeah, and as you arrive here in the present moment, just take a moment to disconnect from any energies that aren't serving your highest good, clearing and cutting all cords to any energies, just claiming your space, claiming your sovereignty, commanding your space, and just feeling your sovereign pillar. Feel your connection to Gaia Sophia, to the earth, to the land that you're on, your connection to the grid, the ancestors, the guardians of the land, knowing that they're here to support you as you flow with them in sacred reciprocity and build relationship. And I just want you to set the intention to receive what is in your highest alignment today in God's divine will. Just setting that intention, intending to receive what is in your highest alignment today in God's divine will. I'm just asking God to reveal to you what you need to know at this present moment within your journey. And so we're just setting the collective intention here for every sister to receive exactly what she needs right now, regardless if she is live or on the replay. God, we ask for miracle frequencies to pour into this space. Holy Father, Holy Mother, I ask for you to hold your daughters. Speak to them in a way that they may understand. Give them the opportunity to receive in a new way from you today, to deepen into God relationship and to allow them to really expand into their divine purpose and understanding of who they are as a woman, their soul, their spirit, their connection to their highest, wisest self, to their God self-consciousness. God, I ask for favor and blessing to pour into this space, to extend that out from the ministry in the temple of Sanctuary of Sophia, and that every woman who is in this space today receives a blessing, a miracle, an answered prayer. Thank you, God. And so it is. We begin. Mm. Blessings on blessings. I'm so excited to share this with you today. Thank you for being here. So, before we even dive into this, I just want you to know that your mission matters, that you matter, your role matters. It's all part of the tapestry that we're weaving together. Okay. So, there's no hierarchy here with the missions. Everyone has a different mission based on their unique templating, how they're organically designed by God, your skill sets, your gifts, what your soul has embodied, the medicine that your soul carries. You have a unique mission, a divine purpose, a divine path, and it matters. And so, a lot of times I notice having supported women in this field for many, many years is like, if we don't feel like we have this grand mission, then it doesn't matter. It's not important. And I want to just dispel that distortion immediately. I'm going to share some things with you today to help you really understand like what's happening here collectively and also to bring clarity on your mission, but know that like you don't have to have this big grand mission in order for it to be important. It is important. So it's like taking out vanity metrics in a lot of those ways and really connecting to the heart of your mission and why you were put here on this earth and why you said yes to coming here during this crazy time. Okay. So I would love to just know as we get started here in 1 to 3 words, if you're here live, how connected are you feeling to your spiritual mission? Like, are you feeling like deeply connected? Do you feel somewhat connected? Do you feel like your mission's changing? Like just a few words to describe like where are you at within your mission, within like your purpose, your connection to like what you're focused on right now to build your heaven on earth reality, which is also for the collective, right? When you tune into the new earth frequency and your divine purpose here of what you're doing, like how connected do you feel? You know, what's alive for you? If you want to share, I'd love to hear that from you. So I'll just give you a minute. Hmm. Deeply connected, but I feel like it's changing. I can relate. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Mhm. Mhm. Onai kai mediano e kianai anus kane ai 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 oi shana kue ameredistina ai 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 ooh. Deeply connected without knowing all the details. Mhm. Sometimes I struggle because I feel it could go many directions. That is so relatable. Thank you for sharing that. Up and down, changing, but not sure how. Mhm. Thank you, sister, for sharing that. My mission is anchoring and expanding. Beautiful. Yeah. In the middle of a big shift and upgrade, getting more clarity every day. Yeah. Cool. Cool. So I thank you for sharing, sisters. This is beautiful theme tracking here. This is what I've been receiving. Connected, yet God reveals to me very new layers that are surprising, a discovery of the last days, months, and it feels like the revealing process continues as I go. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, love. Also deeply connected, but going through major changes. Yes. Okay. So the good news is that this is a collective thing that's happening here. Okay. So this is really exciting because the grids are changing, and we're going to get into that now. So, okay. The first thing I want to share is this collective update that's happening in the field and how this is impacting your mission and why you are feeling like it's changing. Things are changing, right? You probably have been noticing that your identity's been changing, especially through the summer solstice portal and over this entire year, especially. Some of you might also recognize that your personality construct, your 3D personality construct matrix of who you were before your awakening, right? A lot of the programming, the conditioning, those memories. That aspect is starting to really fade more into the distance. It almost feels like you lived it lifetimes ago, or it doesn't even feel like that's you because you have deconditioned yourself so much from that programming, those belief systems, that way that you view reality, that it's like really dissolving. Now, this can feel kind of at times like almost like an ego death process, and it's creating space for your higher station of identity, which I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later, coming in so you can really receive more of your light and more of your memories on a soul level, your cellular memories from your multidimensional aspects, from those higher stations of identity that are connected into your starseed galactic consciousness, your different lineages of priestess oracle lineages of the Grail, right? The Rose lineage, the Sophianic Christos lineages, these connections to who you are, why you're here, and more of your mission is starting to come online because more of the Sophianic body has been freed, especially through the grids and the grid systems. The other thing that I want to share is that false light leaders are being demoted and exposed in a really prolific way right now. And God is going to be redirecting souls from those spaces into spaces with embodied leaders, integrity within online and in-person communities. Now, there's a changing of the guard that's happening in a deep way because of the recent dismantling of the online coaching matrix, which actually was so much bigger than that. It's like that's the basic terminology that I can share about it. Um, but it's so much bigger than that. And that was dismantled inside the Unhooked experience. Some of you were a part of that, so you know what I'm talking about. I did that with my soul sister, Jennifer Madden, and it was so much bigger than just online coaching. It was for the entire online global grid space of false light shadow leaders that were harvesting and harming people through black magic practices, occult practices that are really laced with um, uh, darker energies that are not serving the one true living God. And so that grid was dismantled. Thank you, God. and a new grid has been birthed, which has been reorganizing the collective pathways of service for humanity. And I'm going to teach you how to connect to that grid later. It's called the New Earth Service Grid, and I birthed that a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to teach you how to connect to that because that's going to support you in really understanding that you don't have to connect to these fallen grids anymore. You can unhook from these and you can really start to co-create with the new grid system that's online now that is here to help you and your mission, your flow, and to resourcing you. This is about you being resourced directly from God and your mission. So if you haven't asked the question yet or haven't prayed to ask God to resource you and your mission, I want to invite you to adopt that prayer today if you're called to, of asking God to resource you so you can fulfill your spiritual mission. Because when you focus on that, everything else falls into place, right? Um, so attuning to that and knowing that God wants you to fulfill your spiritual mission, that's literally why you're here. And so when you ask for the resources and for God to bring those in, God's going to bring those in through different pathways. It just might not look how you want it to look. So with this new grid system, what does this mean for you? This means that many of you right now are going to be receiving new assignments to support the new conditions of the collective transformation that's occurring because God wants to position heart-led, sovereign, conscious leaders who are devoted to God's divine will and for supporting humanity and unity consciousness to place them into positions to serve the greater collective in your area of expertise. And that's regardless if you're in a business or serving clients or not, right? That's just one aspect. Some of you might not even be connected into that, although I know a lot of you are. This also could mean serving your community, your family, your grids, at your workplace, where you're currently positioned, expanding where your mantle is covering and beyond. So this isn't just about if you have like a business where you're serving clients, etc., but this is about God moving you into a new assignment and role that's aligning with the collective ascension cycle now that we've undergone this really big shift and we're still moving through it. And if you have been noticing in the online space over the last month, really it was during the whole like unhooking of the dismantling of that grid. So much came out about false spiritual leaders, really major things that have been happening. And the collective's been going through a deep purge, witnessing how leaders that were put on pedestals and guru worship and all of these things have been basically like a light has been shown on that in a really big way where you can't really unsee it anymore. And that's the thing. We don't ever want to pedestalize anyone. We want to be able to always come back into our own inner knowing and God relationship. And that's what I teach in Sanctuary of Sophia is I'm always going to redirect you to your own relationship with God and your own relationship with reclaiming your power and knowing who you are, what your assignment is, and how to commune with the divine in order to co-create your heaven on earth reality. And so while I'm a guide and I'm a mentor and I'm a teacher and an activator in these ways, I'm always going to redirect you. And unfortunately, there are a lot of they're leaders because they're in a position of leadership, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're embodied and conscious new earth leadership, right? So there's a big dismantling demotion happening. And so there's new alignments coming in for your mission and your mantle. So this is a very exciting time because it also means that there's going to be big moves happening for you, where some of you might even be like moving grids as well, moving houses. Some of you might be called to go on trips, especially if you're a grid worker and you have different assignments in different places. Some of you might be called to come into new sovereign collaborations with soul family. A lot of you are going to also be reconnecting with soul family that you haven't yet connected with this lifetime, which is really exciting. Soul family groups are starting to gather to reconnect, and soul group missions are also starting to form, which is very, very exciting. So I know for so many of us, we're all kind of like on our own islands and we're connected through the online space. There's going to be a lot of in-person gatherings starting to happen, connections. We're going to start to really bridge into the new earth architecture, holographic structures to be able to really lead these new waves of movements that soul families are orchestrating together directly from, the Godhead as like the medicine stream comes through you and you share, and then your people find you, and it's really this beautiful process. So if you've been calling in soul family connections, if you've been feeling like you're on the edge of something coming in, like something's shifting, something's changing. I don't know what it is yet. We've been in this transition period, and we're going to be moving through that through the eclipse gateway here. And then we're going to continue that, and it's going to start to really open up here in September, especially. But we're kind of like in the fold right now, still getting clarity. The old identity is like shifting out, and then the new one is starting to bridge in. And so there's a lot that's moving. And so sometimes that can come off as like emotional purging, physical purging, density clearing out of your body, black magic clearing out of your body, old programming, conditioning, really clearing out, because when that higher station of identity really starts to come in, that soul aspect, it isn't in alignment with those old programs. And so those old programs and beliefs have to be released. And then that means that you have to sit with those, right? Process those out, acknowledge that they're there, renounce them if you don't want to participate in that anymore, and be released from it. So that way you can start to adopt the new God ordained belief systems and aspects of that higher station of identity and co-create from that place, which is what you're here to do. So, all right, I'm just going to check the comments here. So let me know, is this landing? Is it resonating for you? Mhm. Christ is more in the body, gracefully receiving more of my soul and my body. Treasure. Aw, blessings. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Soul blueprint. Cool. Yes, absolutely. Soul family. Yeah, yeah. It's exciting. Okay. 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 All right. So with that, kind of touched on, okay, there's this collective shift, new assignments coming in. Okay. Let's talk about how to receive and connect your spiritual mission and mantle. So, if you have journeyed with me at all inside the sanctuary, you'll often hear me reference my mantle and what I hold and what it means to fully acknowledge and receive access to your spiritual mantle and what's involved in it, what's inside, how it expands, what's part of it. And this is a part of deepening into spiritual maturity, spiritual authority, sovereignty, and understanding what your mantle is. So, I'm going to share my definition of how God has taught me and my own gnosis of what a spiritual mantle is and how it connects to your mission. I know for some of you, it might be the first time that you hear about this. So this is, multidimensional. Just feel into it with your felt sensational body, your sophionic body, right? Um, and just see if you can connect into feeling your mantle. Whew. Okay. So your spiritual mantle is essentially an organic, heavenly designed template from God. It's a part of your light body architecture, and it carries your mission and all that you're meant to fulfill in your sacred, holy covenant with God. So there is coding in it, instruction sets, there are scrolls within the mantle, there are different levels and layers within it. Okay, so it's not just like you access it and then you have full access. You access it layer by layer based on your devotion, fulfilling parts of the mantle. Your mantle can't expand and grow unless you fulfill and complete what God's already given you. Okay, so it's very much like you hear me say this all the time. God's not going to give the keys to the kingdom to like an infant, right? You have to build spiritual authority, maturity, and God relationships so God can trust you with giving you bigger assignments, right? I didn't receive the New York City grid work mission and doing the Disney grid work missions and all of these, other missions at the start of my journey. I had to work up to that. I had to build spiritual authority and that level of responsibility and maturity to be able to go in and take back the territory for God from those really big, intense, heavily infiltrated grids, right? And so we have to have the paperwork. And so basically, your mantle holds like the paperwork for your assignments. Because if you're trying to go in to do a mission or an assignment that you don't actually have like the paperwork from heaven, like the actual blueprint from God to do it, that's when you experience a lot of interference. That's when you experience things that cause issues, right? Where there's backlash, things like that. When you have the paperwork to fulfill your assignments and you have that blessing, and that's part of, your divine covenant with God, you're covered in a much deeper way, right? And this is especially important with like grid work. If you're a grid worker, things like that, that's especially important. But you always want to ensure that this is something that God is actually guiding you to do, that your soul is called to do, and not just because you think you should. I'm going to give an example of this. Like a lot of times people go and they sit with like plant medicine because they're just like, okay, well, everybody's doing it. I'm just going to go do it rather than actually being called. And I personally, my own relationship with the plants and having templating for plant medicine shamanism is I do feel if you are templated for it, it can absolutely be a part of your organic design and organic ascension path. But if you're not templated for it, then it can cause harm. And a lot of, lessons that aren't a good time. So that doesn't mean that if you had hard circumstances with that type of initiation, that doesn't mean you're not templated for it. It just could be part of the organic initiations, but you get what I'm saying. So how does this connect with your spiritual mission? So, your spiritual mission and divine purpose are like two sides of a coin, and they're deeply connected. You can think of it as the reason you said yes to incarnating here on planet Earth, right? So, your spiritual mission can be anything from healing yourself to, right, like clearing your bloodlines. Honestly, that is like what so many of us are doing. And it's a huge part of our mission is to heal the bloodlines, clear the bondage from the bloodlines. That's why a lot of us incarnated into, I will say, like super bloodlines, because we have the soul strength, spirit strength, and spiritual authority to bust these bloodlines out of their bondage, right? That most people wouldn't be able to do, right? So that's why a lot of us have incarnated into these heavier, denser bloodlines, right? Another part of your spiritual mission could be to become a mother, right? To raise children, to serve a community, to do grid work, to creating creations, right, to serve humanity through your art, to, building new earth system structures, different types of experiences, right, for humanity in that way, to hold sacred ceremony, to build a new earth business to serve your community, to build a healing center, right, to own a farm and grow organic food, right? Hold temple space to bring forward new earth artistry, entertainment, right? There's so many different things, right? Your mission can be anything that God has called you to do on this earth. And so essentially your spiritual mission is how you're serving God in the way that only you can. But this isn't about martyrdom or self-sacrifice. Dissolve that template like immediately, because we don't ever want to come from this like delusion of grandeur, like hero savior, I'm on a mission, right? The calling, the call to your mission is real, it's visceral because you came here for a purpose, right? And sometimes your mission might also be to collaborate with others, right? To create something in partnership, right? The important thing is that if you feel called and like you have a mission, then you do. So remember what you seek is seeking you. And I've told this story before, but I just want to share it here because it's important. It's like basically, as soon as my spiritual awakening journey amped up, when I moved to Charleston in 2018 through this like really big initiation, right? I became obsessed with understanding, discovering what was my mission because I knew I came here for a mission. And I spent so much time meditating, praying, going on my healing journey, exploring, going through the false light realms and navigating all of that craziness and coming out on the other side, coming back to my God relationship. And so I was on mission during that time, but I was something bigger, greater calling me. I was like, yeah, I'm doing all this, but there's something more. I know I'm here to fulfill something, to create something, right? And so it wasn't until 2022 when I received the Codex to Sanctuary of Sophia and the architecture, right? And so during that like 4 year window, it took time for me to do my deeper work. I was going through a lot of personal initiations at that time as well in my awakening journey. And then when I was ready, I was able to receive the architecture for Sanctuary of Sophia, and I've been on mission and building it since then. But what I want to share here is that my mission didn't fully come online for many reasons. One, I wasn't ready to receive it yet because I was still entangled with individuals that were actually harvesting my energy. And I was in some situations with some spiritual communities that were not of the light and that I really had to break out of. So that way I could be in my own autonomy, right? And come into my own experience of connection with God that allowed me to receive where I didn't have like prying hooks on me and people around me that were trying to hook in and like co-create with me and siphon that mission out of me because that's what was happening. Right. So I had to ensure that I was in a space where I could actually receive my mission and protect it and not let other people come in and try to distort it. So it's a divine timing thing. If you have like a greater destiny codex that is coming in, it's a divine timing thing, but you're never going to miss it. You're not going to miss it. Okay. Like that's the important thing to remember is that if you can feel this bigger thing coming in, you're not going to miss it. You just have to continue to ask God to align you to the frequency and to the atmosphere that allows you to receive it and ask God to prepare you. During that window, I was always asking God, prepare me, get me ready. I know I'm preparing for something. So while I received that mission and that architecture, and I birthed that with Holy Mother and birthed her sanctuary and resurrected the temple, it wasn't until I started deeply entering into the kingdom of heaven and the new earth with Holy Father and with his guidance that I started to connect to my spiritual mantle because I was already in such deep union with the mother, okay? And Sophia and I, like, just effortless, right? But I had to go through this deep healing process of my rejection of the Holy Father, not the false father, not like the alien father, false God that punishes all of that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. The true Holy Father, the true Christ frequency, the loving Father until I started to connect with him and really do that deeper healing work, I couldn't receive access to my spiritual mantle because I wasn't in full union. So when I fully came home to Christ and the Father and did this deeper work with Yeshua and understanding who he is and his role in the kingdom and what he embodies of the Christ Sophia and all of that, this is when I was finally able to access my full mantle as a priestess of God here to serve God's divine will. And then I received access to that. And then I started getting access to my deeper assignments. Things started to flow more. And so, what I share this story because if you want to connect with your spiritual mantle and understand who you're here to serve, who's under your covering, what you're here to fulfill, the prophecies that you're here to fulfill, the things that you're meant to create with ease, right? If you want to connect with that architecture, that's alive. It's a living architecture. It guides you, okay? It's like a template that comes online and it informs your consciousness. If you want to connect with that, with your organic design, I really encourage you to come into deeper union with the mother and the father, right? To me, this is my understanding of God source consciousness. It is Holy Father and Holy Mother in union together in that sacred holy marriage of father and mother in union. This is how I relate to God source consciousness. You have your own relationship with God source. This has been what has stabilized me in my field, my mission after doing this work for a really long time. So, developing a personal relationship with the father and the mother are really essential to be able to unlock your spiritual mantle and what is inside. When you have a balanced relationship with the mother and the father, you have the covering of the Father, you're going to be able to do your sacred work more easily. This is what I teach in my Healing the Father wound immersion and in my womb vision teachings is Holy Father is really this beautiful architect and Sophia is the dream weaver. So Holy Father covers you, right? When you have the Christ architecture and the Holy Father covering and that sacred experience of co-creating with God the Father, you are so covered that your feminine spirit can just fly and create and do all of this beautiful, beautiful priestess, Sophionic temple artistry because Holy Father is holding you. And like your Christ architecture internally is also online and supporting your feminine. So you have to have both, right? And so it is through this relationship and listening to God and taking the action that you're going to unlock new access points within your mantle. And you're going to see how you're meant to serve, what steps you need to take, and the guidance on how to do it. You don't actually need to know how, you will receive what to do. So cancel that mind control program out that you need to know how to do things. God will guide you to receive what you need to know when you need to know it. If you're meant to learn how to go deeper into your spiritual gifts, you will be led into those spaces. And that's right, what I hold space for here in the sanctuary to train women in this type of deeper multidimensional work with spiritual field work, grid work, all of that. So you don't actually need to know how you're going to fulfill your mission. You just need to be open to receive the steps and then do it. If you receive a step for your mission and you don't do it, God's not going to give you another step. You have to do that one, and then you'll get the next step. Okay. So the mind is like, oh, well, I don't know what to do. There's a lot of stories and stuff. Trust me, I get it. Like I've been going through this dismantling process for a long time. But once you receive, and if God might literally give you the next step of like, go for a walk today. That might be your directive of the day. God, what is my assignment? Go for a walk today. Go to this park today and go for a walk. And then when you're there, you might get a massive fucking download about something. So it's not going to always make sense to your mind, but this is why the consistent relationship building with God and just being in union with God all the time to just receive. All you have to do is learn how to receive. And for the feminine, that's really what we're here to do. We are here to receive and then take inspired action in a way that's easeful and graceful and not being in that hyper masculine energy, but also not being in the feminine energy where we don't do anything. It has to be a balance, right? So God will guide you to exactly what you need to receive as part of your mission and mantle and what you need to do next. And sometimes it's not going to make sense, but when you do it, then it opens up the next thing, and then that'll start, to make more sense. And sometimes it doesn't make sense for a while, and you're just doing things, and you're kind of like, okay, I'd love to understand more. And you can always ask. You can always ask for further clarity if you need that. But sometimes God is going to initiate you through faith, where you're going to be given a step to do, and you're not going to really understand the end result or where it's necessarily going, but God places it on your heart. Will you be obedient? Will you trust? Do you trust your womb? Do you trust what you're being guided to do? The more that you trust yourself and you take action, the deeper you're going to connect in to that inner trust with God and that inner sanctum, and you're going to build spiritual authority as you can trust yourself. So I'm going to just give you an example of this. Whenever I birth a new offering or hold a free live experience, something like this, I don't ever like survey the field to see like what do people need or do market research. I don't personally believe in that because I'm not here to like understand what like people are doing in these old systems. I'm here to create something new. And so I get that intelligence from God. That's divine intelligence. God knows what my community needs and the souls that I'm here to serve as part of my mantle. And so I just need to receive that from God. And then I create something and then I get all these messages from my community and women in my space is like, oh my God, I need this right now. This is what I'm going through. And it's like, yeah, of course, God knows that. Like, God knows. And so it's like, okay, Alasia is going to lead this and support the entire community in this. And so God will do the same for you, where God's going to give you downloads about things that you're meant to do. And then someone's going to come into your reality and be like, oh my God, thank you so much. I really needed that. Or you're going to serve as a destiny helper and you're going to change someone's life because you did something for them that completely opened up a door for them and gave them a deeper access point to something that they never knew before. It could be you speak a sentence to someone at the grocery store and it shifts their consciousness, right? So this is about letting God move through you and knowing that when you're on assignment for heaven on earth, you're always being used as a vessel, as a sacred instrument, because you and God are just vibing all the time. You're just like hanging out with God all the time. There's no separation. And so when you have this like communication flow going, it's so much more easeful for your mission and your mantle because you're in the flow, right? It's easeful. It's like, psh, okay, I just need to consult God. Like it's just the way that it is. So God will guide you. So when you are connected to your mission and you can feel your mantle and your mantle communicates to you, it'll be easier to know what steps to take because you'll feel it, right, informing your consciousness. Yeah. So to connect with your spiritual mission, the easiest way to do this is to pray and ask God to show you what it is. It's so simple. And remember, you're on a need to know basis. Okay. So you may receive visions of what your mission is, and God will give you that vision to send you in a direction. And then that mission may evolve over time. So you may get like a greater vision, especially if you have a visionary template. Like I have a visionary template. And so I can see really deep into the timelines. And because I'm holding such a big vision for Sanctuary of Sophia and Sanctuary of Sophia's destiny and the global impact that my temple is here to make, God gives me access to things that are going to be, in the future that allow me to move in that direction, right? And then God also gives me what I need to do right now. Okay. So you can receive both. You can receive access to the greater vision of your mission. Like if you know, like, okay, I'm meant to create this music, or I'm here to become a mother, or I'm here to have a homestead and a farm, or I'm here to create a business where I teach women how to do this, or I am, a midwife. I'm here to be a birth keeper, whatever it is, right, that you're called to do, to understand, or I'm here to, for me, a big part of my mission is to travel the world, to do grid work, to lead pilgrimages. And yeah, and do a lot of grid tending and activate the Christ Sophia aligns with my union. So, okay, I have access to that. What is my next step? So, through your devotion and your communion with God, you're going to receive your next steps and you're going to be able to hear the voice within. But the other piece that is really vital as a woman is being connected to your womb. And this is so supportive for your mission because the voice of your womb directly connects to your Sophionic consciousness. And that is incredibly supportive in remembering. Most of this is just remembering, right? So a lot of us have traveled back in time, right, from future timelines to do this. And that's why sometimes we'll have deja vu or we'll remember or we'll access something in the future, but it feels like we already did it because we have, right? Because time doesn't exist. So a lot of this is like remembering that this is what you're here to do and that, of course, you're here to do it. And your mission is not meant to be a burden. While it may be challenging at times, yes, and there might be organic initiations for you to move through and bondage that you have to break out of, you are designed. God wouldn't give you your mission if you couldn't hold it. And I often remind my clients of this. You wouldn't have such a great vision. God wouldn't give you these visions if you weren't meant to carry it out and see it through. God wouldn't give you this mission and this mantle if you weren't designed organically to hold it and didn't have the skills and the resources to be able to do it. So if you have any kind of like programming or demonic lie constructs that come in of I can't do this, you want to renounce that energy and look at, well, why don't I believe in myself? Why don't I believe I can fulfill my mission, right? Or if that's not an issue for you, but you're like, I don't know how I can do all of this, like capacity wise, ask God to open up and strengthen your discernment of what you're meant to focus on and to help expand your capacity in a way that is easeful for your nervous system and goes little by little, right? Like you want to titrate through your mission because sometimes if you take on too much bigness at once, it can lead to burnout and things like that. And we don't want to have to go through that if we don't have to, if that's not part of our soul's lessons. Okay, I'm just going to check the comments. Mhm. Yes, definitely. I've been releasing old identities, beliefs, etc. My whole life feels like it is restructuring and anchoring. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I feel you, sister. So, okay. So let's just do like a check-in. Mhm. I just want to ask this question. Are you open to having the greatest time of your life fulfilling your spiritual mission? Just tune into that right now. Just how would it feel to have the time of your life? Have so much fun doing your mission. How would it feel for your mission to be light and easy, enjoyable, and to be surrounded by soul family and people who you really enjoy being around, that are easy to be around, that love you, that honor you? There's sacred reciprocity, right? There's a reciprocal flow between you and those that you're co-creating, sharing space with. There's reciprocity between you and the grids that you're on. And how would it feel to feel so connected to God that it doesn't matter if you don't have clarity, you can always receive it. That it doesn't matter if you aren't sure what to do because you know God's got your back, because you know that God wants the best for you. I just want you to tune into that frequency of I am supported, I am resourced, I am abundant, I was born for this. I'm here for a purpose, but it doesn't define my worth. I'm worthy because I am. And I get to have the time of my life fulfilling my mission that I came here to do because I'm a badass and God sent me in on assignment. Just feel into that reality for a minute. And the most beautiful places where your mission opens doors that you never dreamed possible, where God takes you, elevates you, upgrades you in ways that you could never have imagined. God brings you into places where you meet yourself, where you know yourself, where you're like, I cannot believe this. My life right now, my life is a dream. My life has literally become heaven on earth. And I'm here to support humanity so everyone can create this who desires to co-create with God and to choose love over fear. This is the frequency, right? Divine will, where you trust God and you don't force, but you trust in the flow, knowing that it's all working out best case scenario, and you adopt that belief, knowing it's all working out in your favor, even when things go sideways. Even when it's challenging, it's working out for your highest good. And God is guiding you. You're not alone. And you have so many resources available to you as you open up your heart to receive from the Father and the Mother. I'm just asking God to like bring in this blessing of remembrance for you, to remember that you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to carry this alone. You don't have to figure it out on your own. You just have to be open to receive. And so whenever you're ready, you just come back in. Mm. Ooh. Okay. And so, as many of us are experiencing right now, sometimes your mission will change based on the season of your personal ascension process. So sometimes you might be in a season where your mission and your assignment is to rest, to heal, and to prioritize your well-being. That might be your mission for a season. Other times it may be more outward and active, right? There are inward missions and there are outward missions. Both are equally important. And we go through seasons and cycles just like Gaia Sophia with these, right? So just because you aren't like publicly showing outwardly the work that you're doing doesn't mean that you're not on mission. You don't have to have a spiritual business to be on mission, okay? You can be positioned in places, right? I've had this conversation with my clients before of like who are, working in environments where they might not feel like it's their spiritual mission, but it's like you're still on mission because your pillar in that space is creating an atmosphere for all of the souls that you touch. So if you're working somewhere right now or you're positioned somewhere, it's like your sovereign light pillar is serving as a remembrance portal for people around what it means to be awakened, to be sovereign, and that Sophianic consciousness, remembrance of the mother. So I have so many assignments that I am doing that no one knows about. Right? You guys hear about some of my missions that I share publicly that God authorizes for me to share, right? Some of my grid work missions. If you're in the cathedral, I give you way more access to that because you're on assignment with me on some of those assignments where you get the behind the scenes details and you see how I do the missions and stuff like that, right? Some of the deeper missions and initiations that I go through, like the assignments that I went through in New York City with the Diamond Code. I shared a little bit in the Diamond Code immersion and the Sophianic Glow Up, Return of the Grail Queens. You're getting access, right? So, however, some assignments I don't ever even share publicly or with anyone other than my union or my inner circle. And so it's important to also know that, like, you get to choose who you share your assignments with and who is meant to know about what you're working on and what you're doing. And for me, a lot of my assignments I don't share until after they're done because it's a way it honors the medicine that's there, and also because so many of my assignments Okay. Got knocked out. Nyakura shakararia sararia tararia ta. I should still be streaming live. Let me know if you guys see me. I'm back. Can you guys see me? Right as I'm talking about interference, they knocked out my internet. I just want to make sure that it's still live streaming. If or can you just let me know that you see me? Okay, thank you. Okay. Anyway, what's most important is that, right, you feel connected to your mission and remember that your worth, right? It doesn't come from fulfilling your mission. You're worthy, right? Because you are, but it can be deeply meaningful and know that you're doing what you came here to do and not getting lost in the noise and distractions of the external world. Look, we have more distractions in the world now than we ever have. It's insane, right? So it's so important that to stay on mission that you recognize where your energy is getting pulled at and is your energy like is that a distraction, right? And checking yourself like is this something I'm meant to focus on or is this just a distraction? Am I meant to engage in that or is this just a distraction? Right? Usually if it's a distraction, it's going to feel bad and it's not going to feel expansive, it's not going to feel organic, it's going to feel sticky or it's going to feel like that's actually a distraction. But if it like locks you in and brings you into alignment, it feels good and you feel supported by it and you feel God really in it, right? And it's like you could feel that energy or it's like a sensational thing. Then you're like, okay, cool. This is connected in. So when you fulfill your sacred mission with God, you embody more of your true self, right? And your soul essence and your spirit is alive with the Holy Spirit. And this is such a blessing. So while your worth doesn't come from your mission, it is deeply fulfilling to know I'm doing what God called me here to do. I'm doing what God placed me here on this earth to do. And that is so like nobody can take that away from you. When you know, like, I am doing what God called me to do, and I'm actually fucking doing it. I'm not just like, oh, I'm going to do this thing and then not do it. Do you know how many people go through their lives and they actually, it's so sad. Like, I just wish everyone could feel the presence of God and like feel connected to their divine purpose and like why they're here and have this like fulfillment of life and like really become that sovereign co-creator of creating the life that they came here for and break out of the enslavement. And that's what so many of us are here to do. You know, I don't do this priestess work and this grid work for shits and giggles. Like I do it because I want humanity to have the opportunity to become more free from their spiritual bondage and enslavement. I want to bust these grids down so that real people have an opportunity to connect with God in a way that they haven't been able to because these grids have been suppressing them. Okay. And I want to train women in priestess shamanic healing arts and grid work and in their missions because I know that the more women who are online in their Sophionic consciousness and in their spiritual gifts, it's going to create movement and change and it's going to support the collective in creating what we really came here to do, which is creating God's heaven on earth kingdom, new earth because I believe in sovereignty, because I believe in freedom. That has been coming in so strongly. Like, why do I do this work? Why do I go through the hell realms? Why do I have all this crazy stuff happen and all these initiations I've been through, right? Like, because I believe in what God has shown me and God's vision for humanity. And I don't believe in endless suffering and people being in bondage and addiction and enslavement. That is all demonic enslavement, suppression energy. And the mother, Sophia, and her primordial essence, right? She is here to help rehabilitate her children. And as women, it is not our role to be a mother to everyone, but it is our opportunity to embody Sophianic consciousness, to emanate the love of the feminine Christ and to show what it means to be sovereign and to co-create and to not have to be victimized or enslaved to these things. So it's about understanding like why you feel lit up by your mission and like what you stand for, what you believe in, and why you're doing what you're doing, right? Because it gives you that connection and that deepening and understanding of why you're here. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about what happens with your ascension process after you complete an assignment. Okay. Or a season of assignments, right? We go through these seasons. So, say you've been in one season of your mission and that assignment is completed. You may just feel that it's over now, right? Like I shared after I completed the first round of Return of the Grail Queens and the Diamond Code, God was like, your assignment is complete. But it wasn't just for Return of the Grail Queens and the Diamond Code. It was for a series of assignments that I had been working on for quite some time. And so God was like, your assignment is complete. And now I'm bringing you into a new season of assignments in a way that you're going to support. And I'm releasing you from these assignments. Did it, did it, did it, did it. You're no longer going to be doing this, or this. You're going to be doing this now. So I'm going to have you release this. And then that means releasing those identities. So that station of identity that was doing those things, she's being integrated because there's a new station of identity coming in, more of my higher self, my Grail Queen consciousness that I went through with facilitating Return of the Grail Queens, all of my Grail Queen essence that's been integrating. I know many of you are in that space, and some of you are in the space coming up next month, which is so exciting for the next round of Grail Queens coming out of stasis. So when we have this higher self-consciousness coming in, we have to be willing to let go of the old identity and the stories, the attachments to that way of being, how we see reality. And this can be a deep process, right? So when the project completes, when the assignment's complete, you might be moving, you might like have a project that completes or an assignment or a relationship that's completing, right? So after you complete an assignment, there's often an elevation or a promotion. Yeah. And depending on how big the assignment was, it often reflects a bigger promotion and transformation. So your identity is always changing when you're organically ascending because you're shedding these layers of programming and conditioning that are no longer aligned with your ascended identity and truth of who you are, right? So your assignments, your missions, they don't just support what you're working on, they are for you. So I really want you to get this because your assignments, while like they're serving a greater purpose, they're also for you and for your process of transformation as part of your organic ascension journey of enlightenment, right? Becoming the God avatar self, right? Your fullest divine feminine expression, where you're sovereign, you no longer have any spiritual bondage, you're not controlled by anything, and you're in that true ascended identity embodied here on the earth, right? That's what we're doing. So this is a process, but remember, your mission is interlinked with this, right? So the things that God has you doing, it's also to support your ascension process. They're connected, okay? So when you've transcended a space and your lessons as part of your ascension journey are complete, if you're doing work that was connected to that identity, that work is going to be completed. And then you're going to move into a new body of work or missions, assignments, different grid placements, right? That are going to open up new assignments for you that aren't connected to those old patterns, programmings, relationship dynamics, anything like that. So this is important to remember because your assignments are a part of your spiritual mantle and they're yours for a reason, right? God designed you perfectly. Okay. So your assignments are meant to shape you, to help you evolve and transcend into that ascended identity, right? And they're often connected to your own personal growth, your ascension cycle. And so when that assignment ends, the identity associated is also ready to be integrated And then you're kind of in the in-between space, which I feel like many of us are in the in-between space right now. Let me know if you can relate, if you're kind of like in between identities right now, where you're not fully who you used to be, but you're not fully the next version of you. You don't feel like you fully landed. Let me know if that resonates in the comments. Because I'm really wanting to speak into this because this is the part where we feel like we're in an old version of us because we're accessing the remnants of that old identity. And it's like, man, I don't really resonate with this anymore. Why is this here? Well, it's called like it's like the remnants process. It's like the last tendrils of that are just coming back up for that final purge. And so there's often a purge before an upgrade, emotional purge. Sometimes it's a physical purge, ascension flu, things like that. Could be a purging of relationships, of experiences, things that aren't aligned. And so that's why it's always important to do an inventory of, is this still in alignment for me? Right? I always call it the self-inventory process of, is this still aligned? The way that I'm eating, the way that I'm showing up, this process, is this relationship, right? Like as we're going through these things, it's like, is this working for me anymore? No, cool. I'm not going to participate in that anymore. So when you are going through this, right, you want to be able to hold space for the purge and then also welcoming in, knowing more of me is coming in, more of my consciousness is coming in, more of this higher self frequency and light, which is also why there can be a physical purge because the higher frequency that comes in could kind of like shed out. And so, that's why it's so important to take care of your physical vessel, to detox if you need you know, really take care of yourself. And so remembering that your assignments transform you. So it's about embracing the transformation of who you became through the assignment. Because I shared this recently in Return of the Grail Queens was that, when God sends out a call to you and you answer the call, excuse me, that's you saying yes to the assignment. Oh my gosh, my throat's starting to purge. Okay. So when God sends out the call and you answer, that's you saying yes to the assignment. And a lot of people can say, yes, I accept this mission. I accept this assignment. Thank you for placing this call on my heart, God. I'm going to do this. And then they don't follow through on it, or they don't do it, or they delay, they drag their feet, they dance around it, they make excuses. Oh, I can't because da da da. I can't do this yet because da da da. Listen, no judgment, no shame. I get it. I've done that. I've delayed assignments. I don't delay in my assignments anymore because I've adopted the identity that does not delay when God gives an instruction. That's just it. Because I move when God tells me to move, I move. And this is why my path is accelerated and I quantum leap and I have all these shifts and all these things come in to support my path because God trusts me to move. And so I can move quickly and things can shift very quickly and miracles happen because I'm in the miracle frequency with God because I trust God. If you don't trust God, it's going to be really hard to fulfill your mission. Okay. So you want to always be cultivating that relationship with creating internal safety with God, looking at what part of me doesn't trust God, and then bringing that part to God and asking God to help heal that part of you that doesn't trust God. That's a big teaching that I share in all my containers. It's like if there's an aspect of you, maybe it's a child part, maybe it's a teenage part, maybe it's the part of you that went through an experience that didn't know God. It's time to introduce her to the father and to the mother and to let her feel God's love so that way you can get all parts of you on board with co-creating with God. Because when you trust God, God can bring you into places that might be a little bit scary, might be a little bit of an edge, might be unfamiliar, but I trust God. I trust God's plan. I'm going to do it. I'm moving into that territory right now. My brand is expanding. The temple is expanding. I'm moving into new aspects of my mantle that I haven't been before, that I don't really know much about. And I had to go through processes of, do I trust God and the vision that I was given 4 years ago, and now it's time to start moving on it. So, right, you just want to continue to cultivate that. But when you answer the call, you say yes to the assignment. That's one part. The next part is moving and doing it, taking the action, actually doing it, right? So leaders of God actually say yes, right? And they do the thing. That's the bottom line. They do the thing, right? So when you complete an assignment, there's a blessing. And God is so grateful because not everybody does that, right? This is why some people are called and then it doesn't really go anywhere. And then other people are called and they show up and they do it. And then it's like they're successful, right? They're successful in their businesses, they're successful in their missions, they're successful in different areas because they follow God's instruction, right? And so when you complete the assignment, there's this blessing, but that's not why we do it, right? We're not doing it to get something, right? We do it because God asked us to, because we love God and you want to fulfill your sacred covenants, what you're here for, right? And performative relationship, like a relationship of like performance-based relationship with God, it's not a good time. I don't recommend it. You don't need to perform to receive God's love. You can receive God's love right now. You can receive God's support right now. You don't need to do anything to prove that you're worthy of receiving God's love. We need to like dispel that distortion as well. So you don't need to like do your mission in order for God to love you. Okay. But it will draw you closer to God when you know that you and God are doing this together. And it's a beautiful thing. Um, God just wants to do life with you, okay? The father and the mother, they just want to do life with you. They want to support the life of your dreams. They want to help you in achieving the life of your dreams. They want to help you and receiving what you want for you, your family, your mission, your assignments. You just have to remember that, right? Like, we don't need to fight against that. We just need to flow with that, okay? So when you complete your assignment, God will often elevate you into a new assignment and space, and it comes with blessings, right? You'll be called into new spaces, but you have to be able to hold yourself in the in between and trust the transition. This has been the code for me over this last, I would say, month and a half, really is trust the transition. Sometimes transitions are going to be longer because of what you're stepping into next. A longer transition is often reflecting a greater transformation of what is coming. Okay. So you have to trust the transition and trust the timing and not fight it because sometimes the promotion and the shift is so big that everything's reorganizing in the spirit, but it takes time to catch up in the 3D. This is where the importance is of trusting God's timing and divine will and not trying to force or make something happen because a lot of us are on time. Like God, we're all on God's timing, right? But like things are on God's timing and um we have to be able to like really surrender to that in a way where we're not like delaying things or thinking it's not available to us, but also trusting divine timing. There's nuance to it. Um, so it's important to continue to come back to that, trust in that, and, rebuke anything that's trying to take you out of your highest timeline with God. You don't have to give your power away of like, well, that'll happen 5 years from now. You don't know. You don't know what God can do, right? It's just about continuing to um, choose God's presence rather than feed the inorganic energies and timelines that are trying to pull you into lower realities. Because there is a lot of that out there of like, thought forms, different things that come in, right? Stuff from the AI algorithm stuff, like things come in through other people, try to like distract you, right? People are sent on assignment, they've got spiritual bondage, they come in, try to take you off assignment, distract you with their drama, right? You got to be able to discern, am I supposed to be involved in this or not? And to rebuke it and move through it, right? And yeah, just say no to the lower timelines and continue to choose your highest timeline every day through those choice points. So sometimes the purge is part of the process to create space and dissolve old belief systems, right? And it's about trusting the transition of where you're at, right? And knowing that the energetic windows will open when it's time to allow that identity upgrade to flow in and to see how God facilitates your upgrades and your next assignment. And sometimes you might get one piece of it. You might not get all of it. You might get a piece. Can you trust it? Can you hold that? Can you trust that it's enough? And then when you're comfortable, when you're trusting and you're not trying to force or like control, God will give you more. So it's about staying detached as well and being able to be neutral. Okay. And really holding the frequency of peace and trust. I want to share something with you. So I've been going through this really deep transition over the last couple of months, and going to New York, I went through a very, very deep initiation in the months leading up to it. While I was there, my photo shoot, working with Marilyn Monroe, reclaiming her soul essence for her, holding the diamond code, resurrecting the diamond code architecture from the grids, and everything else that I was doing behind the scenes in New York. And there's been a lot reorganizing for me personally and for all of my mission and assignments and offerings and all of that. And, it hasn't been easy. Like I'm not gonna act like it's been super easy because it hasn't been. There's been a lot of things I've needed to purge, a lot of things I've had to let go of. Um, and uh trust. And my mind would come in and start to like freak out a little bit when things weren't moving fast enough, or it was uncomfortable and I didn't know exactly what I was doing next because God would say, release this, but not give me the full picture yet. This is faith-based movement. Okay. So I would connect him with my faith, right? The faith wave. If you guys were a part of the faith wave, you know what I'm talking about, like my supernatural faith wave teachings. I would lean into the faith and I would connect with this aspect of me that was like, you don't need to worry. You're exactly where you need to be. And this quiet, calm voice of God within, was just like, I see you, I witness you, and trust. And then I would just feel this peace wash over me, the peace of God, of knowing I'm right where I need to be. And when you can cultivate that of trusting, I have enough, I'm supported, I can trust this season. There are seasons, right? And we have to be able to trust that. So I just want to remind you of like, you're where you need to be. Trust your process, trust where God's taking you, trust what's here, and be willing to open up and receive. Okay. Hi, sisters. I'm just gonna check. I see some new sisters jumped on. Welcome. I woke up in the morning with some womb pain that comes up now too, which relates to the need to purge as the higher frequencies are coming in. Yeah, resonates. Yeah, I've been also purging from my womb. Yeah, physical purge today. Yeah. Um, my sister. Many tears today and emotional womb purge. Yeah, for sure. Hi, sister. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I want to teach you how to receive real-time clarity on the next step of your spiritual mission during a shift in seasons so that you can move in the organic energy of realignment for your next assignment. Okay. So, how to receive clarity on the next step. This is simple but powerful. There's a prayer that I use. God, what is my assignment for this season? I ask for clarity and guidance. Please show me in a way that I can understand. Show me what you want me to focus on and prioritize. Show me my next step and bring me into a place of spiritual alignment with you and your will for my life. I'll put that in the comments later so you guys can reference it. Okay. I wrote it out. I'll put it in the comments. So it's really about spending time in the presence of God more than anything else. If you don't have clarity, if you need clarity, I recommend putting your phone on airplane mode, creating sacred space for yourself, calling all of your energy back in, tending to be present, and just spending time with God and create space to receive. You can do this in your spiritual practice, in prayer, in nature, wherever feels good to you, meditation, right? But you have to make energetic space to receive God and just really reflect on what's no longer aligned, no longer serving, and be willing to let go. God's going to ask you to let go of things in order to receive your next assignment. You can't, right? Think of it like this. Say you're working a job, okay? So, guys know I was an event planner for a long time. And I was like in a position, okay? And I got promoted because I did a really good job doing all of my work. And so I got promoted and I got new assignments. Okay. And then I got to hire a team to take on my previous assignments. And then they were doing the assignments I was doing because I moved into a higher position, right? And so sometimes you might have to let go of things that you were doing before that just can't come with you into the new assignment. Other times you might still do some of them, but then they're going to change, they're going to shift. And I'm going to share more about that later when I share with you guys about the upgraded offerings and what's next in Sanctuary of Sophia to support you. So it's just about creating space and really like asking, what is my assignment this season? What would you have me do? And you can always come into alignment with God by expressing your desire to live in divine will and by God's natural laws, focusing on fulfilling your spiritual mission. And just ask God for what you need to fulfill your spiritual mission and watch what happens. Yeah. Just watch what happens when you ask God, can you please provide what I need for my mission? You might have things come into your reality that you did not anticipate because you thought you knew what you needed, but it actually wasn't that. But God knows what you need. So that's why it's always like, God, you know what I need. Just please give me what I need. You guys have heard me tell that story before of when I was on the road and we were we were at the end of the road on the grid work pilgrimage in the RV, and I just was like, God, I don't know what we need. You know what we need. Please give us what we need. And then the next day, God dropped it in. You guys are done on the road. You're going back to Charleston. Oh, thank you, God. Right? So it's like you just gotta surrender. And that's easier said than done, but yeah. Whew. Okay. Spraying in some sacred mapacho. Okay. So I want to teach you how to connect to the New Earth Service Grid. And then I'm going to share with you some sacred invitations about how to work with me and how you can receive support for your mission and all of your spiritual gifts. Okay. Okay, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to teach you guys how to connect to the New Earth Service Grid. If you were in Unhooked in that experience with me and Jenna, you've already connected to it. But for those of you who aren't, which by the way, if you are interested in that experience, that is a self-guided program now. You can jump into that. I'll link all of these links below for everything. But yeah, that was a really powerful experience and will be really helpful for you to unhook from the fallen grids if you haven't yet. Okay. So the New Earth Service Grid, it's a grid I birthed a couple weeks ago. This is essentially a marketplace grid of connection and service to connect souls choosing the new earth and God's timeline for humanity. It's so much more than like the online space. It's it's not you can't even really compare it, but like you could think of this as like this new earth service grid where you connect with your people, your soul family, and you're co-creating in God's divine will. This grid is only available for people who are holding the frequency of living and co-creating in divine will. Okay, that's part of the architecture. So that means no nonsense can happen on the grid. Okay, that's how I architected it. that's how God had me design it. No BS, no, black magic, no false light. None of that can be on this grid. This is a pristine, organic Christ Sophia grid architecture where it is the marketplace, it is the meetup. It's like this is the grid where God's new earth systems, creations are being supported by. And this grid can support you in your mission and your business and what you're doing. And so it's operating in divine will and it is here to support you. So visually, it looks like this. I'm going to take us through like a quick guided process, like a 3-minute process here, but it looks like a golden sunrise light of like a new dawn, right? It's the light of Christ. So it's like, when the sunrise comes up, even like over the ocean, it's just like, whoo, you can see the sunrise and it's just like blasting this like golden light. Like that's like the frequency and what the grid looks like. And so there are these new clear pathways that opened up over the entire global landscape to reorganize organic source coding into these streams of light that focus on cosmic Christ energy and sovereignty. And so this grid operates by kingdom sovereign natural laws of God, and it's sourced from God, and it requires, like I said, sacred reciprocity with God in order to be able to be supported by it. So people can't plug into it and try to like steal energy from it. That won't work. It's only going to support you if your heart is truly in the space of devotion to God's divine will for your life and your mission, and then you will be so blessed by it. So that's the beautiful thing about this grid. And yeah, I'm really excited to share it with you. And so you can build your business, your mission, and divine will with it. And this is also going to start to connect like on a multi-dimensional level, like the souls that you're meant to connect with right now, safe, trusted leaders, other women. Also, like men can connect to this too. I just don't really serve a lot of men in my line of work right now, but you can share it if you have men that you're connected to that you are guided to share it with. But this is going to start to really connect you to what it's like to build in the kingdom of heaven and God's new earth, which I personally feel new earth is not just a frequency. Yes, there's a frequency to it, but what God has shown me is that, eventually like our entire holographic reality is going to look different. The grids are not going to look how they are right now. The world is not going to look how it looks right now. There's going to be an actual shift where more of the new earth, heaven on earth architecture from the heavenly realms are actually going to be here on the earth. And we're going to be able to see that in our reality. It's not going to be all this other stuff, right? We're in the process of that. So it's a frequency to connect to right now. And then as more of the collective ascends and awakens and we can clear up all these grids, it's going to really look differently here on planet Earth. And that's also going to be deeply linked with Gaia Sophia's ascension process. Thank you, God. So it's very exciting. Okay. Shukuya sakararia sarariata 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 sarariata. Aw, that's okay, sister. Reading your comment. Hearts. Okay. All right. So let's connect to the grid, and then I'm going to share with you some sacred invitations and answer any questions that you have while we're here together. Okay. Ooh, okay. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Oh, I was connecting with this last night and just feeling how everybody who receives this masterclass now on the replay is going to be able to connect to the New Earth service grid. And my heart was just like bursting, and God was just so excited. And I just felt everybody arrive. And I was like, this is a party. And I'm so happy because this is what we came here for. And it was a labor of love to birth this grid, let me tell you. So I'm just so happy to share it with you because, uh, yeah, it's absolutely divine. Okay. All right. So I just want to invite you to call in your power. Take a moment to call in your power. Call all your power back to you across time and space. And just feel your power return to you. And I want to invite you to call in your highest, wisest self and to call in your 12th dimensional God source avatar to overlight this process, which is that's your God source consciousness, your fractal aspect of the Godhead, just to be here to stabilize your field. And I just want to invite you now to intend to connect to the new Earth service grid. And as you intend to connect to the new Earth service grid, just want you to feel multidimensionally how it feels for you. You might start to see it. So you might start to see that beautiful, like golden sunrise, golden light of Christ, that it's the era of a new dawn. Okay. That's what it is. It's like that new earth. This is the new, like new, not like age of Aquarius, but in a way you could kind of feel it like that. But it's like this is the dawn of a new day. It is a new era of what it means to co-create. And we don't have to operate from the fallen grids anymore. We get to operate with Christ Sophia in the new earth paradigm. And the new earth service grid is service to humanity to in God's divine will. And so I just want to invite you to feel your connection to it, and I'm just asking God to support you in this. And just, God, I just ask that you help each sister be able to truly feel and connect to the New Earth Service grid, what it feels like to stand on it in your light body, like if you feel your light body connecting to it, and just feeling the frequency of sovereignty, of abundance, of limitless potential, all things possible atmosphere, soul family connection, joy, beauty, love, miracles. Hmm. Feeling God's blessing and favor on it, feeling your connection to the new earth frequency, and just feeling how God's divine will is operating. This is kingdom government here. This is kingdom jurisdiction. This grid holds the architecture of the kingdom of God, of heaven on earth. It is holding that heaven on earth blueprint. And when you connect with it, it's going to support you in receiving your assignments, your mission to support yourself, your spiritual mission, why you're here, your mantle. And so you can connect with this grid at any time. You might feel your womb connection to it as well, where this grid can help you birth your creations, sisters, right? Because so many of us are here to birth from our cosmic wombs, our etheric wombs, our creations. So this is a heavenly grid that can help support you with that. And so if at any point you're like getting lost in the sauce with some of these fallen grids, or maybe you're on a denser grid, you can intend to connect to the New Earth service grid. And this is going to connect you to the New Earth frequency of God's heaven on earth, to Holy Father, to Holy Mother, to being resourced by God and being in sacred reciprocity. So you can't harvest from this grid. You can only interact with it in a way that's reciprocal, and it will inform and teach you through the sovereign natural laws of God, because that's how it's designed. So you can learn a lot by connecting with this grid. This grid will work with you. This grid will support you. And so this is how you connect, just through intention and through being present, having reverence, and wanting to co-create in divine will as a co-creator. Mm. And so whenever you're ready, you can slowly start to open your eyes, coming back into the room. Whew. And just finding something beautiful to look at. I have this beautiful rose. And just taking a moment to connect with that beautiful object, orient yourself to the space. Remember that you're here in the physical. Mm. Yeah. So thank you for being open to receive. How was your experience? Could you feel the frequency and the support, the life-giving support of that grid? And the guardians of that grid are also just the true guardians of the new earth. It can be really helpful to connect to that as well anytime you feel like you need to come into alignment. That's why it's part of this mission alignment masterclass, because if you feel like you need to come into deeper alignment, you can connect to that grid in meditation and meditate on your mission. Okay. That's like a key thing that you can do if you desire clarity. It's like connect to that grid in the way that I taught you and ask God, God, what is my assignment? What would you have me do right now? Can you share how I can receive deeper clarity? I ask for further clarity. Okay. So that's what I recommend to receive, and asking God anything you want. It's like, how do you want me to use my gifts, right? What's my next step? How do you want me to see things through this new lens? Yeah. Oh, you're welcome, love. Okay. So I'm really excited. I want to share some of the different ways that you can work with me inside the Temple of Sanctuary of Sophia. There are new pathways opening, and I have some really exciting offerings and experiences that are going to support you depending on where you're at within your personal journey. And some of you might be called to many of these offerings, and that's normal. There's a lot of overlap in them. And so just know that that's a natural thing that can happen because many of you are actually called to be in several of these containers. So it's just about trusting the timing of that, right? And so with this, right, as I share these codes with you, I want to just invite you to feel into like, what would feel most supportive for me right now? Notice how your body responds. And these offerings are designed to support you throughout the different seasons of your mission and your journey, right? And so these are different pathways within the temple space that you can come into, and some of these have been upgraded and are changing. Now, I know a lot of you have been asking, like, what's next in the sanctuary? What's coming up, right? And so this is, yeah, the reveal of like what's coming up next. And so, my mission personally is changing. The way that I'm going to serve is changing based on my deeper assignments and what's coming through. And so if you have questions as I'm sharing these, just feel free to drop in the comments. I'm happy to like answer your questions about these experiences. And yeah, if you want to know like what would be best given where you're at, you can share here as well, and also send me a message. So I want to just invite you to notice how your body responds when I share these, because that's often going to signal to you what's here as part of your soul calling. Okay. So the first offering is Return of the Grail Queens. So this experience is for you if you are called to really come into a deeper role of leadership and Grail Queen embodiment. And holding that mantle as a woman that has a deep destiny and is holding a very deep leadership role within the queen embodiment of the Grail Queens. Now, we know some of the former Grail Queens are Joan of Arc, White Buffalo Calf Woman, right? Mary Magdalene Sophia. We also have, of course, Princess Diana, Marilyn Monroe, Cleopatra Sophia, Isis Sophia. These were some of the former Grail Queens of our time, right, that have woven through the time matrix. And so there is a revival now where those of us that have the Grail Queen template are being brought online, and our Grail Queen bodies are coming out of stasis, and we are moving through this experience. So if you have this deep calling and know that you have queen codes, Grail Queen codes, that you're deeply called in, this is for you. And this is going to support you in reclaiming your primordial power and your sovereign co-creational abilities as a living Grail Queen, right? So this isn't a hierarchy here, right? We're not like going into that. The Grail Queen is a leadership template, and it's a template of great responsibility, of wealth, of impact, of influence, and really living that Grail Queen lifestyle. And so inside Return of the Grail Queens, it's a live experience. I teach it live. It's a 6 week experience. It starts, yeah, in a few weeks in September. And we really go deep into these Grail Queen teachings. And it's through transmission and field work where you're receiving the upgrades and you're connecting to who you are as a Grail Queen. And this is about receiving your Grail Queen mantle and really starting to live a lifestyle of the Grail Queen, which is it's its own initiation and beautiful process of remembrance. So this is really attuning you into that primordial place of power and sovereignty and connecting to the Grail Queens who have these beautiful teachings. And I held this for the first time in June through the summer solstice portal. It was an incredibly deep and moving experience. And the codes that flow through the space are incredibly transformational. And so 3 spots for Return of the Grail Queens have already been claimed. There's 5 spaces left, and this is the last time I'm going to be teaching this live and offering it this way. I don't know if I'm going to be offering this again. As of right now, this is the last time. So this next round is beginning here in a few weeks. And so if you're feeling like this is the time for you to really attune to your Grail Queen consciousness and lifestyle, yeah, now is the time to come in for that. So I will link all of these in the comments below as well after I get off the live. Okay. So the next offering that I have is the cathedral. So the cathedral is my grid work, prayer, and song ministry for Sovereign New Earth. This experience, the cathedral is like an entire realm within the sanctuary because this is where our grid work headquarters are. So we have over 25 women in this space right now. This is now a self-study. So once you enroll, you get access to all of the grid work teachings, how to reclaim soul parts from the grid, and also activating your prayer priestess templates and really understanding who you are as a grid worker, as a prayer priestess, as a woman here to work the earth grids, to reclaim quanta essence from the grids, and to have your own grid work missions and assignments. And so this is really an extensive training. Even if you've been doing grid work or you have kind of gone into grid work spaces, nobody teaches it the way that I teach it because it's through this Sophionic grid worker lens. And this is a culmination of all of the work that I did while I was living on the road. I lived on the road for 2.5 years, traveling the grids, nomadic lifestyle, living in an RV, going in and reclaiming so many of these grid work teachings and codes through these sacred grids. And so women that come into the cathedral, right, they just are like brought online, new missions activated, remembrance, this deep, deep reclamation of power of how to work in these fields. And so much comes back to you. So this is really a deeper dive into grid work and to learning how to do that. And so the cool thing is about the cathedral is that while it's a self-study journey, anytime I facilitate and I have a new grid work mission, you get to join in. So, like this month, I have two grid work missions that I'm going to be facilitating for New York City. We're going to be doing the rivers of New York City and then also the financial district, where we're going to be reclaiming so many financial codes and wealth codes that have been siphoned through the financial district in New York. That's going to be huge. I'm super stoked for that and also for the rivers. And so you get to participate in those. So it's really cool. Our past missions were Disney World, Disneyland, New York City, and there's so many more. And so once you're in the cathedral, you get to participate in those missions and reclaim, and you get to be a part of that movement. And so it's a really beautiful space. And once you come in, you're in and you can participate in those missions as well as you reclaiming your own assignments from the grids. Okay. And so the next offering that has gone through a glow up is the Sophionic glow up, which is my shamanic priestess training studio of transformation. So the Sophionic glow up is my highest level of transformation. And this provides a space for your spiritual gifts to come online and for you to train in Sophionic arts coming into your mission and your mantle. So this training is in its rebirth now, and it's actually going to include my womb vision mystery school teachings for Sophionic entrepreneurs, in where I teach you how to co-create organically with your womb as a priestess and birth your offerings into the world. So, for those of you who are new to my world, womb vision is, well, it's part of the Sophionic Glow Up now. It was a standalone container, it was a medicine mastermind, and it includes all of these mystery school teachings and how to really embody the identity of a Sophionic entrepreneur that operates outside of all of like the fallen marketing and all the fallen grids around business creation. And it really attunes you into the new earth frequency of sovereign co-creation with God, of how to be a successful entrepreneur and to be abundantly resourced and supported as you birth your offerings and work with clients, all of that. And so Womb Vision is now a part of the Sophionic Glow Up. And so all of those teachings are now a part of the Glow Up transformation to provide the deepest experience of transformation possible for women called to this path of devotional service. So, the Sophionic Glow Up is a 12-month training now. And this is for women who are called to be priestesses, oracles, healers of God, connected to the lineages of Christ Sophia. And these teachings of field work and etheric womb sovereignty work are connected into the shamanic codex of White Buffalo Calf Woman and those shamanic teachings that I retrieved from the grids when I was living on her grids back in 2023 and all of the work I did out there in the Black Hills and the Badlands in New Mexico. So this is for you if you want to activate your priestess gifts, your multidimensional vision, how to facilitate light body field work, how to heal your body, how to clear all of the things that are found in the light body, right? Implants, curses, spells, hooks, overlays, inorganic architecture, rebuilding your light body, and also to really connect with your divine purpose, your mantle, and to fulfill that spiritual mission and come into that deeper service opportunity for yourself and also for others. And so this is really about becoming trained as a facilitator in field work, womb work, and then ceremonial work, and then also learning how to organically co-create a business from a place of God ordained mission and belief systems to really create that abundance for yourself and operate in God's kingdom as an entrepreneur and not in the old systems, right? So the Sophionic glow up is the space that's elevating you into that role of the priestess, oracle, medicine woman, shaman, whatever you relate to in that, but that elevated architecture where you're connecting with the highest kingdom timeline as you fulfill your divine purpose. And so I'm training you in how to be a skilled facilitator to facilitate field work, right? Shamanic field work, light body work, and etheric womb healing, reclaiming your womb sovereignty, and also to take that and to create a business based on your gifts, your templating, and your service templates of what you're here to do. So it's really this immersive experience of learning how to use your spiritual gifts to work with clients in the ways that you're meant to, whether one-to-one, group experiences, online, in person, in ceremony, right? In local community, and then to build that confidence, be really solid in that identity. You're going through that glow up transformation of learning how to hold all of that with ease and to take care of yourself through the process. And then moving that into, okay, who am I as a Sophionic entrepreneur? If that is part of your mission. For some of you, it might not be part of your mission to take it into business creation. For many of you, it will be. So this is part of that experience. And so this is an application-based container, right? This is a deep transformation. It's very multidimensional. It's also very grounded. And it is a journey for your own personal glow up of while you're receiving the teachings and learning how to do this, you're working on yourself, right? You're glowing up your own light body, your own physical body, right? There's so many aspects to it. There's so much in there where you're learning how to take care of your field and how to transform, navigate purges, how to navigate your own identity shifts, how to navigate client relationships. It's really the full spectrum of what it means to be in a position of leadership and to do this work and to serve. And so part of that is I'm also going to be holding seasonal glow up ceremonies on the solstices and the equinoxes, which I end up often doing in my containers anyway. And so as part of the Sophionic glow up, you'll also be able to receive the seasonal cacao and rose medicine ceremonies that are going to be held through those sacred portals, because those portals also support the Sophionic body, Gaia Sophia's body, through those equinox and solstice portals, which we are a part of that body. So I'm really excited about the new architecture. And the beautiful thing is that you're going to be able to come in and start receiving as soon as you are ready. And so the Sophionic Glow Up is going to begin in September, where the first live gathering to anchor into this new upgrade is going to be on the autumn equinox, which is really exciting. And so a cool thing is that I'm doing now is if you are already enrolled in the cathedral, you can apply your sacred investment toward the glow up investment. So because so many of you are called to both spaces, if you're already in the cathedral and you've already made that investment, that can be applied to the glow up if you want to upgrade into the glow up, because the cathedral is a warm up into this deeper work. And for many of you that are in the cathedral, you're going to be called into the glow up to go deeper into the experience of learning field work facilitation and really developing those skills to do this work, not only for yourself, but also for your community. And being able to hold the field of what it means to be a leader. So much of this work is also leadership work. So while it's training, it's also leadership training. So these are the pathways to really come in and actually utilize your spiritual gifts and come online and do it in a safe way. Safety is a pillar of Sanctuary of Sophia. It's one of the core values. And the way that I teach this work is with safety and with integrity. And I received a testimonial the other day from a woman who just recently experienced my work inside Unhooked. And, you know, I think it's so important to remember that not all spiritual trainings are rooted in organic source light. You know, I work with a lot of women who have come out of false light spaces where they lost their authority or they were entangled in false light teachings. And we dismantle all of that inside the Sophionic glow up. We also do some of that inside the cathedral, because this is really about aligning you with divine will and allowing you to become the fullest, greatest expression of yourself, where you feel good about using your gifts and you feel safe using them and you don't have any power leaks. And we do all kinds of ceremonial work inside the glow up to, release you from false responsibility and from past lifetimes where maybe your power and your gifts were not used in the highest alignment, right? We go through these different degrees of power reclamation because if you don't feel safe to use your power and to use your gifts, you're not going to. And then you're going to be in this internal conflict, right? So we do the identity work, we do the activation, we do the healing work, and you get trained in these priestess arts and then also how to actually put them into place. So I will link all of these below. Oh, hi, sister. Oh, I'm so happy that you're here live too. Yeah, blessings. So I'm super excited because I know a lot of you were asking, when does womb vision start? When is womb vision happening? Womb vision is now a part of the glow up. This is God's plan to really support women called to the Sophionic path of service and organic creation to be held in the glow up container in that space so you can get trained in how to actually then create your offerings. Because so much of what I was teaching in Womb Vision, if you hadn't trained with me in the deeper work of like how to navigate field work and how to do these things, it's like there were some missing pieces there, but now it's all in one space to really support you in coming online. And so yeah, this is the flow. I'm super excited. And I'm also just really excited because I know that this is going to be really supportive for every woman who comes into any of these spaces of Return of the Grail Queens, of the Cathedral, of the Glow Up. And so I just want to invite you to feel into what feels aligned for you. I'm going to link all of the different pages below in the comments. You can check them out. These are living codexes, right? The Cathedral is a codex, the Glow Up is a codex, Return of the Grail Queens is a codex. When you read them, you're going to be activated. It's a soul calling. You're going to feel the nudge. You're going to know. And if you have questions about which feels best for you, you can reach out to me and we can chat about it. The last piece that I want to share here about how to work with me more deeply is through private one-to-one mentorship. So I have different containers that are available to support you in a one-to-one. There's also an opportunity to work with me one-to-one inside the Glow Up and the VIP tier. So you can work with me while you're having the group experience and going through that process. And then you can work with me one-to-one. There's an opportunity for that. There's limited space for that. But, with my one-to-one spaces, these are in person and online. If you're not really interested in working in a group setting and you feel like you just want to work one-to-one, send me a message and I can send you the application for that and we can chat about that and what's alive for you. And part of that, of course, is also temple legacy building, where I support you in resurrecting your etheric temple. And I'm going to be sharing more about that at a later time. There's a wait list for temple legacy building because I only resurrect one temple at a time because it's such a deep process. And so I'm currently supporting a sister in her temple resurrection, and I have another sister that I'm going to be supporting in the fall. And so, yeah, that's a wait list. But if that speaks to you, I'll share more about that in the future. But just felt guided to share that that will also be available. That's a very unique experience. So, yeah, thank you so much for being a part of this masterclass today and for all that you do for the collective and for being devoted to your mission and your mantle. And just remember that God is always wanting to support you, and resources are always available to you when you start aligning with knowing I am resourced in my mission, and God is always going to provide support miraculously through unexpected channels. It's just about connecting into that identity that knows that and acknowledges that you're here for a purpose, a reason, that your gifts are meant to be utilized, and that there are ways to deepen into that. So, thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful time connecting to the New Earth Service Grid and building your mission. And if these offerings and invitations speak to you, I would love to connect with you. I will link each one below so you can feel into it. And if you have questions about what offering and space would be best for you right now, given what's going on in your process, feel free to send me a DM and we can connect. about that. So thank you, sisters. I send my love and blessings to you, and I lift up a prayer to ask God to support you in all that you need, all the resources, all the blessings, all the favor to come in to support you and to bless you in every area that you are desiring to expand, to grow, and to experience more joy through the process. Shakuriya natia marunia shakararia tararia da ta 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 shukuya sakatia da. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you, sister. As always, so potent. Changes on the horizon. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's an exciting time. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Thank you, loves. Okay. I will see you next time. Bye.